Hello again, and once again, my name is Dennis Karstens. If you haven't seen me before, I'm a retired lawyer and the author of 9 legal mystery courtroom dramas that are available on Amazon. You can look them up. It's Carstens, Dennis. They'll come up. They're really quite good. Got them behind me here. But anyway, that's not what this is about. I'm going to make a little comment here once again, about tax returns for presidential candidates. Personally, I think it's a stupid idea, and I don't know why people care about this, but apparently some do. Here's a couple of points I want to make. First of all, the number one thing is, apparently the Democrats have decided that the single most important thing that allows someone to be eligible to be president is how many tax returns they release. Kamala Harris, at this point, as of today, it'll change, but as of today, is leading the race with 15 years worth of tax returns. The others are chasing right behind her. I think Bernie's released a few, and some people like Kirsten Gillibrand, they've released 11 or 12, and the Chiricahua Apache princess, Elizabeth Warren, has released 11 years, which is, to me, is just silly. But the problem I have with this is a couple things. One, who has 15 years worth of tax returns? Who keeps that? What kind of anal idiot has 15 years worth of tax returns tucked away in a file cabinet somewhere? No one. So what happened here was Kamala Harris wrote a letter to the IRS telling them to send her 15 years worth of tax returns so she could release this to the public. Well, are we paying U.S. senators to harass the IRS for their tax returns? I mean, this is a total waste of their time and our money. But being Democrats, wasting time and money is part of their genetic scheme, okay? But more importantly than that is this. How do we know these are their real tax returns? I could come up with tax returns that show I'm a Trappist monk and all of my income for the last 10 years I've been giving to charity. And the IRS, by law, cannot refute this, cannot either deny or affirm that these are in fact my real tax returns. Now, I know Democrats hardly ever lie unless they're speaking in English. Then everything they say you can pretty much count on is a lie. Like this business about reparations, that's a lie. They know it's never going to happen. It's pandering nonsense. So how do we know those are their real tax returns? I was online today looking for, the number of tax returns that these people have released, and I came across this article by, and I gotta look and read the guy's name here for you. Domenico Montanaro. Apparently, he is a political commentator for National Public Radio. Now, Domenico has come up with 3 reasons why we need someone's tax returns. The number one reason, he claims, is we need to check them for a conflict of interest. Really? All right, let's look at that like adults for a minute. Let's say I'm a politician and I'm running for president, and I gave a speech to the National Rifle Association, and the National Rifle Association paid me $50,000 for this. Now, Domenico, the deep-thinking liberal that he is, would get outraged by this. He would say, oh, that's a terrible, obvious conflict of interest. But is it? How about if I gave a speech to Planned Parenthood and they paid me $50,000 for it? Deep-thinking liberal Domenico would think that'd be just fine. But they're the same thing. It's just me giving a speech to a group of people. and they're both the same level of possible potential conflicts of interest. One deep-thinking liberal would be just fine with, the other deep-thinking liberal would be outraged about. Pretty much everything that, and oh, by the way, it's perfectly legal for these politicians to give speeches like that. In fact, they do it all the time. Any one of which, of course, could be a potential conflict of interest. The Clintons have been paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for giving speeches all over the country, including Wall Street. Are these not potential conflicts of interest? I didn't hear any great hue and cry across liberal world for all the money that the Clintons were paid by the people at Goldman Sachs for speeches they gave, which certainly is a conflict of interest. This whole conflict of interest stuff, let's be honest, what deep-thinking liberal Domenico is really looking for is Donald Trump's tax returns. Deep-thinking liberal wants to see them because deep-thinking liberal Domenico believes there's a line on his tax returns that reads, payment from Vladimir Putin. Well, even if there was such a payment, nobody's going to put that on their taxes. They're certainly not going to write it like that. There are any number of ways you can hide this kind of stuff. So his claim that we need to know if there's a potential conflict of interest is as idiotic as everything else this moron has come up with. If you really want to know where someone's money is, you don't find it in their tax returns. You find it in their financial statements that every candidate by law has to fill out. And Donald Trump has in fact filled those out to show where his money is, what loans he has, what investments he has. That's where you're going to find that kind of stuff. Not in the tax returns. The tax returns don't tell you anything. And the second reason deep-thinking liberal Domenico came up with for why we need to see somebody's tax returns is we need to see their charitable contributions. Really? Why? First of all, the money any private citizen, including candidates for president, gives to charity is nobody else's business. Is deep-thinking liberal going around his neighborhood knocking on people's doors saying, I'm here to check for your charitable contributions to make sure you're giving enough? Number one, it's well known that conservatives give far more money to charity than liberals do. The main reason for that, of course, is liberals want government to take care of people that most of these liberals wouldn't want in their own neighborhoods. And conservatives give money because they're more caring people. That's the simple fact of it. Now let's examine that for a minute. Let's say that, and I'll just use Kamala Harris as an example. I don't know how much Ms. Harris has given to charity. I don't care. It's none of my business. But let's just say Kamala Harris's tax returns show that she has not given any money to charity for 10 years. And let's say Donald Trump has given millions of dollars to various charities over that same period of time, which, from what I understand, Donald Trump has in fact done that. He gives millions of dollars to various charities. Now, is deep-thinking liberal going to look at Kamala Harris and say, well, she didn't give any money to charity, so I guess I'll vote for Donald Trump? Of course not. Deep-thinking liberal is going to vote for whatever liberal idiot comes out of their primaries. He wouldn't vote for Donald Trump if a burning bush appeared in front of him and ordered him to vote for Donald Trump. So that's another stupidity. Why do we care how much money somebody gives to charities? Well, the reality is, deep-thinking liberal wants to know where Donald Trump is giving his money and if he would approve of it. But the reality of that is, if Donald Trump gave all of his money to Planned Parenthood, he still wouldn't vote for Donald Trump. And finally, deep-thinking liberal Domenico says, one of the reasons, the third reason we need to know is he like us? Does this person bend the rules? Okay, let's think about that for a minute. I have put down deductions on my tax returns that I thought were legal. and the IRS has disallowed them. This happens from time to time. I'm a writer, so I have a lot of different deductions that I can take. And it has happened that the IRS has disallowed one or two here and there. Okay, that doesn't make me a criminal. That doesn't make me a bad person. That just means I made a mistake and the IRS disallowed it. That's the IRS's job, to go through Donald Trump's taxes and make sure that all the things that he is claiming are in fact legitimate. And if they find something that is not legitimate, it's up to them to tell Mr. Trump, sorry, we're not going to allow this. You have to pay extra taxes for it. It is not the job of deep-thinking liberal or any other liberal moron to go through Donald Trump's taxes and either allow or disallow them. They don't know taxes like the IRS does, and they can't do that job. Neither can deep-thinking liberal Domenico do that. I would defy anyone to come up with one person, let alone 1,000 people, who have decided in the past whether or not to vote for any particular candidate based on what is in their tax returns. Most people don't pay the slightest bit of attention to that. It's these deep-thinking liberals that, especially the journalists, that think, oh, let's go peek in Donald Trump's taxes and see if we can find that payment from Vladimir Putin. No, you're not going to find something like that. And you're not going to persuade people to vote for Donald Trump or against Donald Trump based on his taxes. And I sure as hell am not going to vote for any of the Democrats or vote against any of the Democrats based on what's in their taxes. Give it up. Who cares? Now, one last thing. Jerry Nadler. If you don't know who Jerry Nadler is, he's the chairman of some oversight committee who is out there on TV every day trying to be a big man in Congress. Fine. I can't keep him off TV. If the TV people want to put him on, that's fine. But for God's sake, will somebody please put a bag over this man's head? He looks like something out of a Grimm's fairy tale that lives under a bridge and jumps out and scares the hell out of kids just for the fun of it. Cover him up. I don't need to look at that. Neither does anybody else. Put a stop to it. Please spare us looking at Jerry Nadler. He's beyond hideous. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks, kids. I'll be coming out with more. Probably another one in a couple of days. I'm having a lot of fun with this. See ya. Take care.